minstrel. He kind of sang over here, and his guitar was over here in a different time zone. But it made you pay attention to the words. And one of his favorite songs was Isaiah 35. Say to them that are of a fearful heart, be strong, fear not, behold your God will come. With vengeance even God, with the recompense he will come and save you. Okay? And when you see that, what's the result of that? It says, then the eyes of the blind shall be opened, and the ears of the deaf shall be unstopped. Then shall the lame man leap as a hart, and the tongue of the dumb sing. For in the wilderness shall waters break out, and streams in the desert. Remember we talked about Isaiah 32. You're going to be a shadow of a great rock in a weary land. You're going to be a covert from the storm and the tempest and the wind. That's what God is raising us up to be, so we can be those things. Okay? I'm always amazed that those angels, those two men, it says, that came down to get Lot out of Sodom and Gomorrah. And everything that was going on was crazy, but they didn't lose their cool. They knew what to do. You guys want to bust in the door? Poof, you can't see. Okay? And you say, well, I don't have that power. I don't know. Paul did. And he's just another guy like you and me. He made a guy blind, so he couldn't do anything. So we have to start to find out who we are. And there's always a starting place, right? So something I want you to take note of as we go through this. We're going to talk about mostly Zacchaeus today. And I've been over this before, but Paul said it's good to hear it again. And Larry said that the other day. It's good to hear it again. Okay? Why? Because sometimes you don't pick up on everything that the person said. And these parables about Zacchaeus and Bartimaeus and the Good Samaritan, they're good stories, but what you gotta, there's a takeaway from all of them bigger than just the story. And so a lot of times you gotta dig in and find out what in the world they're talking about. And so one thing I want you to take note of is how many times stuff starts out or ends up in Jericho. Remember Jericho? The walls came tumbling down. They killed everybody. They were supposed to give the gold to God. And one guy decided to keep some for himself, and he caused a bunch of trouble. In fact, that's his name. Achor means trouble. And what did the Lord say about Jericho after it was destroyed? He said, cursed be the man that raises this city up. Okay? And so, go figure, in the time of Ahab, it was raised up. And it doesn't say it specifically, but other translations tell you that the guy that raised it up, as he raised it up, his firstborn son was killed. He died. And by the time he built it and put in the gates, his other son died. Okay? So nothing good comes out of Jericho. Its name has something to do with the time of the month. Okay? What happens every month? The moon. Moon phase. So they were moon worshipers, basically. And the thing is It's the accursed city. We won't go into him today, but the Good Samaritan, okay, the guy who got beat up and robbed, where was he? He was in your, if you read it, these are the things that we can read and just don't pay him no attention. He started out in Jerusalem and he was heading for Jericho. That's downhill. That's going from the city of our God to the accursed city. So sometimes we come out of places, but then what they used to call backsliding. I don't know if you ever, out west they got a lot of mountains and a lot of things to climb and a lot of gravity going on there. Avalanches and mudslides and all kinds of stuff. And Californians, they just got, I watched one guy, got his Escalade, he's in Beverly Hills, and he just didn't have water up to the windows, he had mud. Now that's fun, trying to get your car out of the mud. And it just keeps raining and flooding and mudding. And then they had an earthquake. But at least they didn't have locusts. It's like, I guess you're going to have to start looking and saying, what's the Lord trying to tell me? I got a kick out of it yesterday. I like to watch Weather Channel and stuff like that. And they had a guy on there. He's 70 years old. And he's from South Carolina, and he has a heavy drawl, And he's been hit by lightning 12 times. 12 times. So, of course, there's always going to be somebody tell you, I think the Lord's trying to tell you something. Okay? To which he said, can't he just write me a letter or email me? And he said it real slow, that southerner, can he just write me a letter or email me? Yeah, I guess he could do that. But anyway, if we can go to Luke 19, verse 1, pretty much going to go through that whole chapter. Just want you to see some symbolism here, because all these parables, you read them, but they have to do with Lord telling us how we're going to progress and how we're going to, what we have a right to and things like that, okay? So it says, and Jesus entered and passed through Jericho, okay? What did he do when he died on the cross and he was buried and where did he go? Where did his spirit go? It went into hell and got the keys of hell and death. And he set the captives free that were down in there. Okay? So when you think of Jericho, think of this same kind of scenario. He's coming out of Jericho, okay? And what's he going to do? He's going to do some salvation stuff. Okay? So he passed through and entered and passed through Jericho. And behold, there was a man named Zacchaeus, which was the chief among the publicans, and he was rich. How did he get rich? Cheating people on taxes. He was the chief publican, right? The architelos. That means he was the head guy that took in taxes for the Roman Empire. Now, they didn't have computers back then in any kind of communication, telegraph wires, telephones, and nothing. Okay, so what showed up on paper or whatever they wrote on, I don't know, that's what you got. You didn't have no way of checking it. So if the Roman government says that you owe 10 drachmas or whatever, denarius or something, that's all you knew. So it was very easy for the tax collector, who was already being paid a certain amount to collect the taxes, to say, says here you owe 15. And guess what he does? He pockets his commission and 5 more, whatever's. Okay? And that's what was going on with all that. And that's why, and they knew it was going on, but they couldn't do much about it. But that's, publicans were like lower than dirt. Okay? Nobody liked them. Same with IRS now. But these guys were even worse because they cheated people and they got rich. That's how he got rich. Okay? Now the ironic thing is Zacchaeus' name means pure. It means transparent. It means clean. He was not exhibiting any of that, was he? Okay? In, I think, Deuteronomy, I got it written down here, but Deuteronomy 28. Deuteronomy 28, verse 9. We're going to come back to this. This is the Lord talking to the Israelites. This is like the standard, okay? You want to be Israelite? This is one of the things you got to be shooting for. The Lord shall establish thee a holy people unto himself, and he hath sworn unto thee, if thou shalt keep the commandments of the Lord thy God and walk in his ways. We're going to go down to 14. And all the, is that it? And all the people of the earth shall see that thou art called by the name of the Lord, and they shall be afraid of thee. And the Lord shall make thee plenteous in goods, in the fruit of thy body, in the fruit of thy cattle, in the fruit of thy ground, and in the land which the Lord sware unto thy fathers to give thee. The Lord shall open unto thee his good treasure. You don't need to steal, do you? The heaven to give the rain unto thy land in his season, and to bless all the work of thine hand, and thou shalt lend unto many nations, and thou shalt not borrow. Is that pretty neat? I don't like borrowing money myself. I like if I can lend money or give money. And the Lord shall make thee the head, and not the tail. Thou shalt be above only, and thou shalt not be beneath. If that thou hearken unto the commandments of the Lord thy God, which I command thee this day to observe and to do them. You want to study something that'll keep you busy for hours? Look up that word do. In the Greek and the Hebrew, it's those little words that make such a big splash. There's like 30 words for the word do. Okay? And they all speak to you. Whether it's the Hebrew or, on the day of Pentecost, the people, after Peter got done telling them about this is that which the Lord, was spoken, they said, what shall we do? Go look up that word do. It's 4160 in the Greek, I know, because I've seen it bounced off my head so many times now. What? And it says, and thou shalt not go aside from any of the words which I command thee this day, to the right hand or to the left, or go after other gods to serve them. Okay, when you're stealing money, what are you doing? Mammon. You can't serve God in mammon. So that's, one of Zacchaeus' problems. Now, let's go back to Luke 19. Okay, so he went through Jericho, and Zacchaeus, a man named Zacchaeus, which was of the chief of the publicans, and he was rich. And he sought to see Jesus. Okay, there's tons of people out here that want to see Jesus. But their vision of him is warped. It's nebulous, whatever you want to call it. They don't have a right vision of him. Why? Well, let's read on. Okay. And he sought to see Jesus, who he was. What's he was? I am, you are, he is. This is past tense. He wanted to see who he was. Who I am was. Okay? And could not for the press, because he was little of stature. Okay? So here again, the world is blocking your view of who Jesus is. Ask the average person and they'll tell you, they walked on water and he made some fish and bread multiply, and that might be the extent of it. And they can't even grasp what that means. Okay? So here you come along, okay, and we'll see in a minute what happens. It says he was little of stature. Now, in the physical, he couldn't see over the crowd, right? Because he was short. I don't know how short he was, but that isn't even what it's talking about. The Lord said, which one of you, by taking anxious thought, can add 1 cubit to your stature? None of us. I'd like to be a foot taller. Okay? I'd like to be able to run the 100 in 10 seconds like I used to. But I can't. Okay? I'd like to be a better person. I'd like to quit doing some vice. And even if you do it for a little while, and how many, this is what, February? So how many resolutions are already broke? I mean, did they make it into February even? Did they make it barely out of your mouth before they were busted? And so we can't, of our own free will, improve ourselves. Well, we might be able to improve ourselves a little for a little while, but it gives out because we don't have the strength, the ability, the desire, a lot of things that we lack. But Christ in me is the hope of glory. Okay? The hope of the weight of who God is dwelling in me. And then I can do all things through Christ, which strengthens me. So, I need Christ in me, do I not? But he could not for the press because he was little of stature. What does this mean spiritually? We can see that he was not living up to the standard of an Israelite, right? Would you say that? And most Israelites hated him because he wasn't living up to the standard of an Israelite, which a lot of them weren't either. Okay, the word little, it means, it's micros, okay? we see that word in English. You want to see something that's smaller than your eye can see, you're looking at a microscope, right? You want to measure something that's very small to measure, you get a micrometer. So it's something that works on a scale of little. But in the Greek, it means that it's small in size or in dignity. Okay? There's a lot of people that live way beneath their dignity. Here's a guy that used to be some person that was high up in a banking thing or something, and now he's in a gutter because something happened and he got into booze or something, and it took him down. Okay? So his dignity is now, he went down to Jericho. But there's a Jesus that will come out of Jericho and grab a hold of you and fix you. If you let him, if you seek him. And that's what Zacchaeus was doing. He knew enough that he needed help. And that was one of the things that God impressed me with when I spent my little time in jail, was that these guys, they wanted something different than what they were tired of living this way, in and out of jail, being chased by police, handcuffed, and, not amounting to anything. But they wanted something different. They didn't know how. That's where you come in. That's what God is grooming us Zacchaeuses for. And not just Zacchaeus, but the tree that he climbed up. Okay? You wanted to know who he was, and he was little of stature. Okay, that word stature, okay, that's another word. In fact, back there's some pamphlets that I wrote about stature if you want to see more about it. But stature means size, but it also means maturity. Okay? So part of the stature that you want to add to you is maturity. Why do you need to be mature? Can somebody very young, like say 4 or 5 years old, take care of the boys? They might be able to take care of them a little bit, but not much. You need a mature person, right? To take everything they're going to need to be taken care of until they grow up enough to do these things on their own. And so God's trying to groom us so that we can be partakers of what he's doing. And we can't be a partaker if we don't know what we're doing. So nothing worse than being thrust into a place where you need to know how to do something and you don't know what to do. Scary. It's funny, they trained me for 1.5 years. Nuclear power, steam, all these things. And then they stuck me down in the engine room and I went, holy Toledo. I'm supposed to know every valve, 3,000 valves, you say? In the dark? Give me a break. Well, it's daunting. It's like scary until you get yourself in gear and start learning it. After a while, it becomes no big thing. You become a part of it. You know where everything is. God wants to bring us into a place of maturity where we know how to be what's needed for the situation. Put it that way. So Zacchaeus didn't have dignity, and he wasn't mature as an Israelite. But that's about to change. Okay? And he sought to see Jesus, who he was, and he could not for the press, because he was little of stature. And he ran before him and climbed up into a sycamore tree to see him, for he was to pass that way. Okay, so what is he doing? I need some altitude. I need some quick dose of up. So what does he do? Climbs a sycamore tree. The first thing that one day I was reading that, and finally I go, why a sycamore tree? Why not an oak tree? Why not a pine tree? Why not all the different kind of trees there were? So it's very simple. You look up what a sycamore tree is. Basically, one of the places it's a mulberry tree. But the thing that makes it what he wanted to get to was the way the sycamore tree was built. Okay, it has a very short trunk. So you don't, that one guy says about the branches, there wasn't a branch on that tree for a while. He didn't need a tree like that. He needed a tree where he could start climbing immediately. So a sycamore tree has low branches, lots of them. You can climb up it. There's no thorns, there's no bark on it that's abrasive or anything like that. Okay? So, are you approachable? Or are you hard to climb? Are you? The person's trying to use your stature, your dignity, okay, your size, to get a glimpse of Jesus. When you talk to them about Jesus, you have to give them a vision of who he is. And so, I know I got one here. I didn't write it down. But go to James 3, and I'll find it real quick here. Okay, we'll start at verse 3, James 3:15. You can read what's above it. It says, this wisdom descendeth not from above, but is earthly, sensual, devilish. Okay, he's talking about the wisdom of the world. Next one. For where envy and strife is, there is confusion in every evil work. That's been happening too much in the church. People come, and instead of us being easy to approach, we're judgmental. Can't do that. That doesn't get anything done. I don't need you to tell me how bad I am. I already know that. When Jesus was approached by all those little kids, and the apostles were shooing him away, why? Well, he's a busy man. Yeah, God's a busy man. He runs the whole universe, and he still has time for little old me. Okay? And it says he took them children up, and he blessed them. How do you bless them? They give him a quarter for the movie? Or No. The word is eulogia, eulogize. He spoke good things to them. And if you take your Newberry and figure out when he did that and later on, you'll find out some of these kids was probably Timothy and Titus and people like that. that he moved along. He didn't say, what are you kids doing here? Shouldn't you be in school or something? No, he put him on his knee and he talked to him nice. What did he say? I don't know, but it was better than what a lot of people would have said to him. He didn't say, go away, kid, you bother me. He said, someday, kid, you're going to be somebody in the kingdom. Okay? And so, next one, please. But the wisdom that is from above is first, what are we looking for? Trying to straighten out Zacchaeus? It's pure. Then it's peaceable. Then it's gentle. Easy to be entreated. It can be climbed. People out there need to use your stature as a sycamore tree to be able to see Jesus. And guess what? Did that sycamore tree just pop up? God doesn't even, his plans aren't even from week to week. They're just, he plans things way before you're born, before he created the earth. All these plans were there. That sycamore tree was already on the drawing board. And it grew in the exact place he needed it. When you talk about Esther, you come to the kingdom for such a time as this. That sycamore tree came to the kingdom for such a time as this. And this wisdom is full of mercy, and sycamore trees have fruit on them, and good fruits, without partiality and without hypocrisy. That's what we're shooting for. Okay? And Zacchaeus, he did everything he knew how to do to get himself in the vicinity of Jesus. But then the Lord had to take over. Okay? Back to Luke 19. Way past where I want to be. Okay, so he's up a tree, up a sycamore tree. He's done everything he knows how to do to come in contact with the one who can change his life. Okay? Some people recognize that in you and they come to you. Some people come to a church to see if they can find something there. They don't know if they will or not. That's up to us, I guess. And so it says, and when Jesus came, this is verse 5, when Jesus came to the place, he looked up and saw him and said, unto him, make haste and come down, for today I must abide at thy house. You think he was thrilled? I mean, there was this big crowd of people, and out of all them people, he recognizes me up a tree without a paddle. Okay? He saw him and he said unto Zacchaeus, Make haste and come down, for today I must abide at thy house. Okay, next one, please. And he made haste and came down and received him joyfully. You know, when somebody finds out they're about to be delivered out of something terrible, do they get joyful? Some people go berserk with joy. But he received him joyfully. Next one, please. And when they saw it, that's the crowd, the ones that wouldn't let Zacchaeus have a good look at Jesus, got in his way, clouded up everything. And when they saw it, they all murmured, saying that he was gone to be guest with a man that is a sinner. How do you fix sinners if you don't come in contact with them? I remember when they normalized relations with Cuba a couple years ago now, and everybody's going, you can't do that. Yeah, they have rights violations and everything. And I'm going, if they're willing to normalize relations, that means they might let some missionaries in there and change it. So why are we mad at them for normalizing relations if we can get in there and talk to people? You can't talk to them the way they are now. And so and he made haste and came down and received him joyfully. And when they saw it, they all murmured, because he was going to be with a sinner. Ooh, you sinners. If we don't want to rub elbows with sinners, then how are you going to rub off on them? It just doesn't happen. And Zacchaeus stood and said unto the Lord, Behold, Lord, the half of my goods I give to the poor. And if I have taken anything from any man by false accusation, I restore him fourfold. What is that? It's fruit of repentance. He's not just talking. He's doing something to straighten out what he did wrong. And he's contrite about it. And Jesus said unto him, This day is sozo, salvation, come to this house, insomuch as he also is what? The son of Abraham. All this stuff goes back to the covenant. Just because it was 2,000 years before doesn't mean it's gone. Not according to God. It's always there. It always will be there. And so, for the Son of Man came to seek and to save that which was lost. Okay? So now, what do we take away from this? Is that Jesus is out to save sinners. For your part, you're there, you've been brought to the kingdom for such a time as this, put in a position at the right place at the right time, with the right words. You have an empathy, you have a compassion for the person, not, if you want them to get saved, you can't save somebody by twisting their arm. You have to talk nice. You have to play nice. make them feel like they're hopeless. Give them hope. And real quick, if we go to Mark, how much time we got? Oh yeah, Mark 10:46. And they came to our famous town again, Jericho. And as he went out of Jericho with his disciples and a great number of people, blind Bartimaeus, the son of Timaeus, sat by the highway side begging. Okay, that's redundant. Blind Bartimaeus, the son of Timaeus. That's what Bartimaeus means, son of Timaeus. And Timaeus means somebody who's dirty. Somebody who's ceremonially unclean to stand before and minister to God. Now, does God want you to be like that? No. And so he wants you, so here, right off the bat, he's blind. So he has no vision. So he needs vision. And where is he? On the highway side. A highway shall be there, a way of holiness. The unclean shall not pass over it. There shall be joy and gladness, and sorrow and sighing shall flee away. That doesn't sound like that's his state of affairs at that moment. And he's begging. What is he supposed to be? He's supposed to be the lender, not the borrower. Okay? So he's got 3 strikes against him before he even runs into Jesus. Next one, please. And when he heard that it was Jesus of Nazareth, he began to cry out and say, Jesus, thou son of David, have mercy on me. Now, he must have known something or he wouldn't have said that. Some people lost that vision that Jesus was the son of David. And that a lot of things were going to come through that lineage. Though he's blind and everything's going wrong, he's still thinking the right way. And a lot of times when things are going wrong, we got to keep thinking the right way. Okay? Believe that these things they might seem like they're out there waiting for us, but they're out there waiting for us. It's like waiting for Christmas. I'm going to get a bicycle, but all I got to do is wait for it to be Christmas, for it to be that moment. If you lose sight of it, then that hope deferred makes the heart sick comes into play. But you got to realize that when the desire comes, it's a tree of life. So, here we are with blind Bartimaeus. Why do I do that to myself? Oh, that's why. Let's try Mark. Okay. So he's by the wayside begging. They came out of Jericho. All these things are falling into place. When he heard that Jesus of Nazareth he began to cry out and have, Son of David, have mercy on me. Next one. Here's this dumb crowd again. Many charged him that he should hold his peace, but he cried out more, a great deal, Thou Son of David, have mercy on me. Don't give up the ship. Just because people try to get in your way, keep on keeping on. Okay? Next one. And Jesus stood still. When I think about how much the Lord has going, we would be running around like in a rat race. But he will stand still. You call upon the name of the Lord, he will stand still and listen to you. And until we get that in our head, we're not this little flea on some third rock from the sun. We are his creation. We are the top of the heap of what he created. And he loves us so much, we don't even love ourselves as much as he loves us. And so he stood still and commanded him to be called. Okay, there's that word called again. He calls you by name. And he calls you to something. And they call the blind man, saying unto him, Be of good comfort, rise, he calleth thee. Sounds like they just changed their mind. They just want to see Jesus do a miracle. Let's see. Let's have her. I paid my 25 cents. I want to see the show. So he calls them. And so, next one, please. And he, casting away his garment, rose and came to Jesus. Okay? If you can imagine what he was covered with. He's been blind. He's been sitting by the wayside. You don't know if he even had a bath in months. But in Isaiah, he said, all thy righteousness is as filthy rags. Whatever you covered yourself with and thought that was righteousness, Jesus is God saying no. So the first thing he did was cast away his garment. And then he rose. That speaks of resurrection. And he came to Jesus. We all need to come to Jesus. You say, I already came to Jesus. You need to come to him again tomorrow. Because whatever's still wrong with us, we got to cast away that filthy rag and come to Jesus. Okay? Next one. And Jesus answered and said unto him, What wilt thou that I should do unto thee? And the blind man said, Heal me enough that I can wear glasses. Did he say that? Too often people don't ask what they really want because they think that God's limited to who they are. They think if he can get me to where I can wear glasses. I mean, that would be an improvement, wouldn't it? From blind to glasses?
Yes.
But ask big, because God is big.
Amen.
And if you don't get it all right away, keep asking.
Yes.
And so the blind man said unto him, Lord, that I might receive my sight. Next one, please. And Jesus said unto him, Go thy way. What way is that? Well, his way. Go your way. We'll see that gets better. Thy faith hath made thee whole. That's one of the English translations of sozo, of salvation. Make you whole. Okay? It has to do with not just making you whole physically, but making you whole. So you're like Jesus. Was he whole? Was his body good but his mind wasn't, or something like that? No, every aspect of my body, soul, and spirit is going to come under God's rule voluntarily. Not because I got put through something that might teach me something, but it does. That's not what's going to make me want to do it. Thy faith hath made thee whole, and immediately he received his sight, and Jesus told him to go his way, right? And follow Jesus in the way. He decided Jesus' way was going to be his way. So instead of being an Israelite who was underdeveloped, he now became something that was very useful. Uh-oh, you mean I have to get a job now? Well, that's what God's trying to bring us into the place where we can be useful. Okay? When I was this big, I wasn't useful. And later on, I got a job and I was useful. You know, I learned how to cut grass. I learned how to wash the dishes and dry them. There was things that my parents taught me and brought me along. And you just keep, learning things and doing things. And you become more useful. Okay? If I let myself go to Jericho and become a drunk, I have lost my usefulness. But if I can run into Jesus and he can bring me out of that Jericho situation, that's salvation. So it's not just enough salvation to get you out of Egypt. We got to get you to the promised land. Because that's the covenant. Let's see. So anyway, I got more, but we got to wait till next week. We're going to talk about those guys that were demon possessed, and Jesus had to cast the demons out of them. Did he just cast the demons out of them, or did they become useful? So that's what we'll talk about next week. I'm going to quit a little early because it's going to take me that long just to get to my car. Praise God.